10 crazy what-if scenarios. The universe is a big and mysterious realm with numerous possibilities in which practically anything can occur. Have you ever thought about what might happen if the Earth grew to double its current size? What if Pangaea, the supercontinent, never disintegrated? These what-if scenarios demonstrate how incredible and mind-boggling the Earth and the universe can be, even if you haven't considered those precise questions. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. 10. What would happen if everyone jumped at the same time and the same place? The YouTube channel Sauce raised a topic in August 2012 that many of us have probably only considered if we're going to Amsterdam or Colorado. What if we somehow assembled all 7 billion people on the planet, stood shoulder to shoulder, and then all leaped at the same time? While the logistics of the project would be a headache, we would only require approximately the same amount of space as Los Angeles. Would we be strong enough to shift the Earth when we landed if we all jumped a foot in the air? Or do you want to start an earthquake? Surprisingly, we'd be powerful enough to move the planet. We, on the other hand, would not notice. It would just shift 1/100th of the width of a single hydrogen atom, and it wouldn't even last a second before the Earth bobbed back up. So, in terms of global endeavors, let's put this one on hold. 9. What would happen if the magnetic poles reversed? The reversing of Earth's magnetic field is one of the most feared earthly disasters. As a result, the North Pole will transform into the South Pole and vice versa. It's worth noting that this reversal does not imply that the Earth will literally turn around, only that its magnetic poles will. If you stand on the equator with a compass, Canada and Russia will be at the top of the Earth, but the compass will show them as south, while Antarctica and Australia will be at the bottom, but the compass will show them as north. We know this will happen since it has happened several hundred times before in Earth's history. The most recent one occurred 780,000 years ago. As a result, the reversal could occur at any time. What impact will this have on the Earth and the people who live here? It's important to realize that this isn't the same as turning on a light switch. Rather, it's a 1,000 to 10,000 year process. As a result, there will be no flooding, earthquakes, or other natural disasters. 8. What would happen if you fired a gun in space? To fire, modern firearms and ammunition do not require oxygen. This implies that they will be working in space. If you fire a gun in space, the smoke will erupt in a spherical from the barrel. Because the cosmos is continually expanding, the bullet will continue to fly away indefinitely. Unless it hits Sean Bean, which, according to movies, is almost certain. Meanwhile, due to the gun's recoil, you'll be propelled backwards. This would be bad news because you would float away unless you were connected to something, because there would be no resistance to stop you. You would simply float until you perished of thirst or a lack of oxygen. In space, you can also shoot yourself in the back. If you shoot while in freefall near a planet, the bullet may orbit the planet, and depending on where the kickback pulls you, the bullet may return and smack you in the back. 7. What would happen if the moon disappeared? One thing we'll notice about the oceans is that the tides won't be as strong. The moon's influence on the tides is due to Newtonian gravity. Gravity increases when you get closer to something. As a result, when an ocean or loose earth faces the moon, it reaches towards the moon, drawing water away from the beach. The tides, on the other hand, would not vanish totally because the sun has an effect on them as well. In addition, without the moon to force the tides, the Earth's rotation will slow. As a result, the days will become longer over thousands of years. However, because the moon helps maintain the Earth stable on its tilted axis, the lack of a moon would become an even bigger problem in the long term. The moon helps to keep outside gravitational forces, such as those from other planets, from affecting Earth's tilt. The tilt of the Earth might shift by 85 degrees without the moon. Without the moon, the Earth's tilt would alternate between the sun spinning around the equator and the sun rotating around the poles every few million years. Climate change would be dramatic as a result of this. 6. What would have happened if Pangaea didn't break up? Pangaea, a supercontinent built from other continental units about 300 million years ago, was developed from other continental units. It began to break up at 175 million years ago, and the continents gradually moved to their current location, making it the last of the supercontinents. But what if it never split up and remained a supercontinent? The bad news is that humans would almost certainly not have evolved. Geographic isolation is a fundamental driving force in the development of new species from existing ones. Because creatures are subjected to diverse selective forces, while they are alone, new features emerge. 5. What would happen if the world doubled in size? Let's pretend you went to bed one night and awoke the next morning to find the world had doubled in size. This covers mass doubling as well. The first thing you'll notice is that you're really heavy, assuming your bed didn't fall under you. This is due to the fact that the Earth's gravity would double, making everything twice as heavy. That implies you'd have to start walking around and doing things while wearing a bodysuit made entirely of your own weight. Your bones and joints might struggle to support the weight, depending on your size. Our hearts would also be in great danger, since more gravity would force blood to pool in our extremities. Your blood pressure would have to double to deal with the pooling. Humans would eventually evolve and become stronger, particularly in the lower portion of the body. To sustain our weight, our legs would become much stronger. 4. What would have happened if the dinosaurs didn't go extinct? Around 66 million years ago, 80% of Earth's life was extinguished. Dinosaurs are included in this. A comet, an asteroid, or a supervolcano are all possible causes of their extinction. Or Jeff Goldblum, for that matter. The idea is that we can't be certain. However, the Cretaceous-Pliocene extinction was most likely caused by a mix of events, with a 6-mile white asteroid striking the Earth on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula as the final blow. This resulted in widespread wildfires, and a large amount of ash and dust entered the atmosphere, cooling the planet and killing out much of the vegetation. But what if the asteroid didn't impact Earth, and the dinosaurs didn't perish in a catastrophic extinction? According to Damian Nance, an Ohio University professor of geosciences, there's a strong probability they'd still be living today. After all, dinosaurs dominated the Earth for 160 million years before being wiped off, so there's a decent probability they would have continued to live at the top of the food chain until another catastrophic event occurred, such as the emergence of a dinosaur illness. There's even speculation that, based on how dinosaur brains evolved before to extinction, dinosaurs could have evolved to have human-like intelligence if they hadn't died out. 3. What would happen if the sun died? It would take a long time for the sun to cool down if it stopped working, analogous to putting something warm in the refrigerator. The bad news is that the effects would be felt within a week. The average global temperature in 2015 was 58.3 degrees Fahrenheit. The average temperature would drop to 0 degrees within a week of the sun dying. Within a year, average temperatures would plummet to -100 degrees. The majority of plant life would perish, and the ocean's surface would freeze. However, because the overlying ice would insulate the depths, it would take hundreds of thousands of years for them to freeze solid. Our planet would be a continuous, comfortable temperature of -400 degrees after several million years. What about what humans are capable of? We could dwell in nuclear or geothermal habitats, or in submarines deep beneath the ocean's surface. Of course, food would be scarce because vegetation needs sunlight to develop, and only giant trees would live for more than a few years on the surface. Finally, while the sun is crucial for heating the Earth, it is also necessary for keeping us in orbit. The Earth, which would now be a ball of ice, would stop revolving and sail off into space if the sun died. 2. What happened if you jumped into a hole drilled through the middle of the Earth? If you dropped into the hole without considering the Earth's rotation or friction, you would start at a speed of 0. As you drew closer to the center of the Earth, you'd increase up speed, hitting 17,671 miles per hour. You would decelerate once you passed through the center of the Earth, and by the time you reached the hole on the opposite side of the Earth, you would have reached a speed of 0 and popped out. It would take you 42 minutes to complete the journey, and hopefully you'd have a quip ready for the people waiting on the other side, such as "I must have taken a mistake turn in Albuquerque." Or something else entirely. We have no idea. We're implying that you'd have plenty of time to come up with a nice statement while you drop through the planet. 1. What would happen if you fell into a black hole? Black holes are one of the universe's most perplexing and fascinating mysteries. Have you ever considered what may happen if you fell into one? It's one of those situations where there's good news and bad news. People who happen to observe you fall into the black hole will have a completely different experience. People watching you fall in would see you stretch and contort as you got closer to the event horizon, the point of no return, and then they would see you slow down. Then you'd freeze, as if someone had pressed the pause button, and they'd see you swallowed by the event horizon's heat, leaving nothing but ashes left. The first thing that would happen to you would be that you would be cloned and then cremated. That's the you who was reduced to ash by your fellow space travelers. You wouldn't realize you were cloned, and you wouldn't feel anything when you passed through the event horizon. You'd be in freefall because gravity wouldn't exist. The bad news is that, if you chance to fall into a little black hole, the force will stretch you like spaghetti. If it were a large black hole, like 1 millionth of times the size of the sun, you'd continue to fall and the laws of physics would break down beyond the event horizon. You'll continue to be pulled towards singularity, which is a rupture in the space-time continuum, because time and space don't truly exist. It is at the black hole's center that space becomes infinitely curved. Nobody knows what will happen there. It may be another dimension, a different portion of space, or perhaps something hidden behind a bookcase from the past. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.